we may have some bad news here for really cheap MSRP GPUs. It looks like they're disappearing. The only way to get them really is through Best Buy. The reason for that, they sell the Founders Edition. Nvidia decided to keep that price the same, at least in the US. I know that in Europe, even though Founders Edition are very, very rare, they did increase the prices there. But if you want a Founders Edition in the US and you're lucky enough to get one through Best Buy, as several people have been lucky to do so, you're going to pay the original MSRP from when it came out all the way back then. That means the 3080 is going to be $699, 3090 $1499, and of course 3060 Ti $399, which seems extremely cheap for the caliber of GPU that you get, but that's because Founders Edition have not changed in pricing at all. So this certainly is going to be a bit of bad news here. During the last drop, I didn't see any Founders Edition at all, and in fact during the last two that Best Buy had online, they had one recently this week, I didn't see any Founders Edition at all. In fact, all of the GPUs that were up, pretty much everything that you can expect from the third-party AIB partners, things like 3060 Ti's, and even one that really kind of made me scratch my head. They had an Asus Strix 3080 Ti for over $2,000. Now, that's the price that GPU was a couple of weeks ago. Recently, the prices have been falling really, really fast. I'd recommend you guys take a look at some of my recent videos because I've been covering some of these massive price drops. For example, the 3070 Ti went down to $699, the Asus Tough, which is a very good model. So remember to subscribe, smash that like button so you don't miss these type of videos. If you want to know all about GPU pricing, I cover it as much as probably anybody else. So to go back to that 3080 Ti, now nobody's going to say that it's going to sell, and in fact I still saw it in stock, the 3080 Ti Strix, for over $2,000, but why is Best Buy still dropping it at such a high price? Other retailers have quickly dropped that, even if it's by a few $100s, to maybe like $17.99, because nobody wants to buy a GPU that expensive unless it's a 3090 at least. For a 3080 Ti, people have their eyes set on either the Founders Edition, which was $1,200, or maybe at most stretching it to like $1,400 or $1,500. I think even if you're an Asus fan, I don't think you're going to want to stretch that much for a 3080 Ti. So the drop is very, very weird. There's definitely some weird stuff going on in the market now. Some places the prices are dropping very fast, like the video that I did on the 6900 XT being really cheap, as well as the, the 3070 Ti, and certainly some 3080 Ti's. But you have to be careful because we're sort of in a weird phase of this price change. Some retailers have yet to update their pricing. Maybe they're pretty used to what has been going on during the last year, and they're reluctant to really lower these prices, and they hope they can catch some people at least buying at highly inflated prices. One of the most shocking price drops that I saw was the video that I posted the other day, AMD's 6900 XT. This was an MSI X Trio X model. Now, on the box it said $1,669, and then the price dropped all the way down to $1,099 plus a $50 rebate. So that's a tremendous price drop. Basically price gouging. It's basically a scalper price if you bought it at the original price. That shows you that it's not really being priced in, things that they say, manufacturing delays and things like that. Sure, that's a factor, but not $600 worth. That just shows you they're taking advantage of the consumer, and nobody would buy this card at that price anyway. That's why they had to drop the price so drastically. Now, you guys have to be careful when you're looking at places, even Best Buy, even a retail store, because they may be trying to sell you a GPU that's still highly inflated. I also saw many 3070 Ti's for around $1,000 still, $900 to $1,000, while those prices were pretty much the going rate a couple of weeks ago, maybe even as recent as last week. Now, people have seen the 699 GPUs pop up, and we're not talking about an inferior model. We're talking about literally the same GPU you're going to see for $949, like an Asus Tough. You're going to be able to find it for $699. Nothing's changed aside from that massive price drop. So you guys have to really, really take a look at everything that's going on with pricing. Try to check it. The hard thing is, even though sometimes the price will drop that low, it's possible it sells out, and then the retailer may stock it at a higher price. Maybe they have fewer of them, or you may catch it at a different place that hasn't changed the price yet. So it's a little bit of a wild, wild west. if you do need a GPU, continue to search, look at all these sources. Eventually, you're going to see the right one pop up sort of at the right price. If you give up, you may not catch it at all. Prices may go up again in the future. It's been very volatile. Even though I do think prices will continue to go down, demand has certainly eased up a considerable amount. So my advice would be continue searching, but definitely have patience. Don't jump on the first GPU that you see that the price may be cheaper, because you may look a few days later, and this is happening very, very fast, and find another GPU that's considerably cheaper and perhaps performs a lot better. And to go back to the main point of the Founders Edition, these seem like they're really disappearing. I've seen less and less of them during the last several weeks. For the last few months, Best Buy was replenishing them on a fairly regular basis. Sometimes every 2 weeks they would have a drop with, a pretty large amount of Founder Edition GPUs. Certainly that presented other problems as well. For example, there were a lot of Best Buy employees who would buy these GPUs before it even got to the hands of the regular consumer, especially when they were canceled orders. If you guys have followed my channel, you'll see that we have the little Best Buy app workaround where you can see these GPUs in stock. Often they're going to be canceled orders from people who bought multiple online. Now, the problem is, before they got to the store where you could walk in and actually buy one if you give them the SKU number, there were many stores where a Best Buy employee would see, for example, a 3060 Ti pop up as a canceled order in the system, and before the store would even open, he could buy it for himself, and then they were selling it on the secondhand market for often twice the price, twice the MSRP, pretty much your friendly neighborhood scalper. So that was one problem with the Founders Edition. That shows you how sought after they are, because they really have the cheapest pricing. Not only that, they're attractive to gamers and crypto miners because they have the full hash rate. Aside from the 3070 Ti and 3080 Ti, all the other ones are pretty much full hash rate, meaning that they're going to be considerably more valuable and therefore give more incentive for people to resell them, especially the employees that were buying them before and then selling them later. So what could it potentially mean that the Founders Edition are disappearing from these Best Buy drops, which, by the way, is really the only source to get these GPUs now. Nvidia doesn't sell them directly, at least in the United States. It's the only way to get them, and it's pretty much only in the United States you can get them at this point when they do pop up. So probably what's going on here. I mean, some GPUs they're probably phasing out. Like, I don't think they like selling an RTX 3080 for $699 when there's a slightly upgraded model they can charge literally twice the price for, which is the 3080 12GB. Even though that doesn't have an official MSRP, that's been passed along to only the third-party AIB partners, so they can do what they want with the price. It hasn't been selling that well, so I can definitely see them going down. I've seen them go down and down towards the $1,200 mark, but that's still considerably more expensive than that Founders Edition. Another reason could be that they want to sell the other GPUs that are out there. If they keep stocking Founder Edition GPUs, everybody likes them because they're the cheapest ones and they're full hash rate, like I mentioned before. So that's going to open up the market for everybody that wants to buy them. Now, if they have those, everybody's going to go for those first, and then all of the other GPUs from the 3060 Ti, 3070, 3080, 3080 Ti, all of those GPUs that are third-party AIBs, like from MSI, Asus, even EVGA, which is usually cheaper, all of those are not going to sell because people are going to go for all of the Founders Edition. The third-party GPUs are probably going to be the light hash rate, and they're going to be more expensive, even if they're being sold at retail, than any of the Founders Edition. So it would make sense if the market is really, really getting saturated with GPUs. That's usually the practice of certain stores. Like, I've even seen stores where we walk in, they'll have some very, in-demand GPUs hidden in the back, and then on the shelves, they're going to put the GPUs that nobody wanted to buy. For example, when the AMD GPUs were very high, like the 6900 XT, or even like a 3080 Ti from Nvidia that's like a TUF or a Strix, which was near $2,000, those GPUs are difficult to sell, so they'll put them on the display case. They're hoping maybe somebody walks in and thinks it's a high-end GPU and ends up buying it. But some of the ones that are a better value and much better performance, sometimes maybe like a 3090, or if they have a special GPU, I've seen certain stores kind of keep them in the back unless somebody asks for them, because after all, if they had those in the shelf, those are going to sell immediately, and the other GPUs that are less desirable are going to be much harder to sell. So that's potentially what's going on on here with the Founders Edition. It's maybe not on display in the shelf, but if you see it pop up online, I bet you almost anyone will go for a Founders Edition compared to a similar GPU that's a third-party AIB model, just because Founders Edition to begin with are already pretty good. The design is really fantastic. They're going to be full hash rate generally. They're not going to have any sort of performance limitations, and at the same time they may be considerably cheaper than any of the third-party AIB GPUs. So that's going to be a big draw. Makes sense to get rid of them, but for us, the consumer, definitely not good, because you're going to be left with the overpriced third-party GPUs unless they continue to reduce these prices, which I believe they will. And the market is really speaking right now. We're seeing day after day GPU prices go down. We don't know if there might be a time when they go back up. Maybe they might disappear from the market in general once again. But for now, the trend is definitely going in a positive direction. And remember, later in the year, we're going to have Intel GPUs, new AMD GPUs, as well as the Nvidia RTX 4000. All right, guys, so let me know what you think. Do you think the Founders Edition are going to disappear in favor of sort of much higher priced GPUs that maybe aren't as desirable? Let me know what you think down below. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.